In Tokyo, Japan, a family of 4 was murdered inside their home. The killer left behind his fingerprints, DNA, shoe prints, clothing, even his own blood. He browsed the family's computer, ate their ice cream, used the bathroom, changed clothes, and stayed for hours. It's one of the most evidence-rich unsolved cases in Japanese history, and today, we break down not just the timeline, but the realistic hypotheses of who this killer could have been, and why, despite overwhelming clues, he's never been caught. Chapter 1. The Miyazawa Family. Mikio, 44, a gentle, quiet salaryman at Interbrand. Yasuko, 41, kind, artistic, motherly. Nina, 8, energetic, bright. Ri, 6, shy, quiet, often nervous. Display a calm family portrait. The Miyazawas lived in a semi-detached home in Setagaya, right next to a park gradually being cleared for expansion. Their part of the neighborhood was nearly abandoned. Just 2 homes still standing, including theirs. This isolation will become critical later. Chapter 2. The night of the murders. December 30th, 2000. A normal winter night. Inside the house, it appears to be a normal winter night, but sometime between late evening and the early hours of December 31st, a killer enters the home. Entry. According to the official reconstruction, the intruder likely came from the park side, climbed up to a second-floor bathroom window, and entered the house after damaging the window screen. Footprints and marks around the window and gardens support this entry route. The murders. The exact order of the killings is not fully certain, but investigators generally believe young Rei, 6 years old, was killed in his bedroom, probably by strangulation, and may have been the first victim. Yasuko and Nina appear to have been attacked on the stairs and on the second floor. Their bodies show multiple stab wounds and defensive injuries, indicating they tried to fight back. Mikio was found near the staircase or in the study area on the second floor, also with stab wounds. Multiple knives were involved. At least 1 knife brought by the killer. At least 1 knife taken from the Miyazawas' own kitchen. Some reports describe a knife breaking during the attack and the killer switching to another blade. That's consistent with police statements that more than 1 knife was used, but the exact sequence and details of breakage are drawn from later reconstructions, rather than fully published forensic reports, so it should be treated as partially speculative. Chapter 3. The killer's behavior inside the house. What truly sets this case apart is what happened after the murders. The killer did not simply flee. Evidence indicates that he stayed inside the house for hours, ate food and snacks, including ice cream from the family's freezer, drank beverages, such as tea, used the toilet and left feces in the bathroom without flushing, rummaged through drawers and belongings, possibly used medical supplies in the home to treat his own wounds, since he left his blood in several locations. He also interacted with the family computer. According to reports, there was activity on the computer in the early hours after the murders, though the exact nature of what was accessed remains unclear in public sources. Throughout the house, investigators later found the killer's fingerprints, bloodstains from both the victims and the perpetrator, items he had brought with him, items he took from the family and then abandoned. Some media and commentators suggest the killer may have rested or even slept briefly in the house, but this is interpretive rather than an officially confirmed detail. What is certain is that the killer acted with remarkable carelessness about leaving evidence behind, and yet managed to avoid identification. Chapter 4. The mountain of physical evidence. DNA and blood. Blood at the scene confirmed that the killer was injured, likely during the struggle with the family. From that blood, police obtained his DNA profile and determined he was male. His blood type was type A. More advanced DNA analysis suggested a mixed ancestry pattern, with some reports indicating links to East Asian paternal lineage and possibly non-Japanese maternal components. However, details about a precise ethnic breakdown, such as specific claims about European maternal ancestry or exact origin, come mostly from secondary reports and commentaries, not from detailed official police statements. So those should be presented as hypotheses, not hard fact. Crucially, his DNA and fingerprints have not matched Japanese criminal databases, Korean records that have been compared, or broader international shared databases. This strongly suggests the killer had no known criminal record in these systems or he was never printed or profiled, or he may have lived outside countries participating in those exchanges. Clothing and personal items. The killer left several pieces of clothing and personal items in the home, including a sweatshirt, a scarf, a bag, gloves, and a specific brand of sneakers. Police traced some of these items back to particular manufacturers and sales batches. For example, the sweatshirt type was reportedly sold in limited numbers in Japan, and police tracked down many of the original buyers. The shoes are often described as a particular size and model that were not very common in Japan. Again, this comes from police releases and subsequent reporting. Exact numbers like only X units existed appear in some articles, but are not consistently confirmed across official sources. It is safer to say, the clothing and shoes were traced and narrowed down, but no buyer or owner could be definitively linked to the killer. Sand and environmental traces. Another much discussed clue involves sand grains found in the killer's belongings. Analyses suggested some sand likely came from a Japanese location, possibly a skate park or outdoor area. Other grains appeared consistent with soil or sand from outside Japan, possibly from a desert-like region. Some commentators and articles connect this to a specific U.S. Air Force base or other overseas installation, but those details are not clearly confirmed in official police publications. It remains one of the most interesting but speculative clues, and is best presented that way. Chapter 5. The geography and isolation of the crime scene. The Miyazawa house was directly adjacent to a park that was under development. By late 2000, several nearby houses had been vacated or demolished for the project. Only a small number of families remained, making the Miyazawa home more exposed and isolated at night. The killer's apparent entry from the park side suggests he likely had some familiarity with the park and the area. He may have felt comfortable approaching the house from the dark, less visible side. Some people speculate that he could have watched the family previously from the park, learning their habits. That idea fits the layout and timing, but it remains a theory rather than documented proof. Chapter 6. Major theories. Theory 1. Young local or semi-local offender linked to the park. One of the most popular theories is that the killer was a young man, possibly a teenager or in his early 20s, connected to the nearby park or skate area. Support for this theory includes the likely age range, inferred from some DNA and physical analyses, suggesting a young adult male, the approach through the park and entry via the bathroom window, which suggests familiarity with the terrain, his behavior in the house, eating snacks, using the toilet, leaving belongings, could reflect immaturity or impulsiveness rather than the caution of an older, experienced criminal. The clothing and shoes could match styles more commonly used by younger people at the time. Weaknesses. There is no publicly known young local man whose DNA, fingerprints, or background matches the evidence. It is not clear why such a person would target this specific family with such extreme violence. Theory 2. A mixed nationality or military-connected individual. Another prominent theory is that the killer may have been connected to a foreign military base, or was the child of a mixed nationality family, possibly splitting time between Japan and another country. This rests on several points that are partly confirmed and partly speculative. The DNA hints of mixed ancestry, the rare clothing and shoe models, which might have been easier to obtain near certain bases or overseas, the unusual sand samples, one portion possibly from a foreign desert region, the fact that his fingerprints and DNA have not matched records in Japan or neighboring regions. This leads to the idea that he might have spent only limited time in Japan, committed the crime, then left the country, making him very hard to trace. Weaknesses. No specific individual with this profile has been publicly identified. The connection to a particular base or country is based on interpretation, not a solid official confirmation. Without direct evidence or a named suspect, this remains a compelling but unproven scenario. Theory 3. A personal grudge or targeted attack. A third theory suggests that the attack may have been personal, that someone had a grudge against Mikio, the family, or perhaps the neighborhood disputes involving park development. Points that feed this theory. The severity of the attack and the overkill might indicate strong emotion or rage. Mikio was known to have complained about noise from local youths near the park, which could, in theory, have caused friction. Some reports mention prior strange incidents in the area, such as suspicious individuals or minor vandalism. However, No direct evidence has been made public linking a specific person or conflict to the murders. Police investigations did not find any clear work, financial or personal motive. If it were a close personal enemy from Japan, the chance that he would have escaped DNA fingerprint comparison for over 20 years seems lower, though not impossible. This theory remains largely circumstantial and has not moved beyond speculation. Theory 4. A robbery gone wrong. Another idea people bring up is a robbery gone wrong. Maybe someone slipped in through the bathroom window, got surprised by the family, panicked, and the situation escalated. But the evidence doesn't support this. Yes, it appears some small items or cash may have been taken, or at least disturbed. But the killer left behind all major valuables, electronics, money, jewelry, and anything of real worth. If this were a robbery, he had hours alone in the house. He could have taken everything. However, he didn't do that. The violence also goes far beyond what panicked burglars do. Robbers hit once and flee. Here, 4 people were killed across multiple rooms with multiple knives. And after all that, the killer didn't escape. He stayed, ate food, drank tea, used the bathroom, left his clothes, fingerprints, and blood everywhere. This is the opposite of how burglars behave. Even the tools don't match a break-in. He brought a knife, not burglary tools, which points more towards someone prepared for violence, not theft. So while the idea sounds simple, the facts contradict it. Small items may have been taken, but nothing about the killer's behavior matches a robbery motive. If anything, the mix of items taken and items left behind suggests impulsive rummaging, not planned theft. Chapter 7. Commentary and analysis. At this point in the investigation, it's helpful to separate 2 things. What the evidence definitely shows, what the behavior likely tells us about the killer's mind. This is where the Setagaya case becomes incredibly challenging, because the physical evidence presents a clear profile, yet the killer's behavior contradicts typical patterns. Let's begin by examining the most consistent, cross-supported traits. 1. Age and psychological maturity. Based on physical attributes, the killer is widely believed to have been a young male, likely late teens to early 20s in 2000. But what is more striking is the behavior, which appears emotionally young. Eating ice cream after committing a quadruple homicide, leaving half-drunk beverages, leaving feces unflushed, rummaging randomly through personal items, abandoning his own clothes, bag, and tools, making no attempt to wipe fingerprints or clean blood. This is not the behavior of a methodical assassin. It's the behavior of someone impulsive, reckless, or psychologically detached from consequences, not insane, but disconnected. Criminal psychologists often describe this pattern as post-offense dissociation, a mental state where the killer acts mechanically or ritualistically after the violence, without the panic or urgency most offenders experience. It also resembles the profile of someone inexperienced in violent crime, or living a life with minimal structure or supervision. This suggests someone who is not socially embedded, not someone with a job requiring strict discipline, not someone with a stable adult routine. It's the type of behavior more commonly seen in troubled youths, runaways, military dependents drifting without belonging, or individuals with personality disorders involving detachment or low-fear response. 2. Comfort with extreme violence. Despite the immaturity, the killer demonstrated the ability to confront and overpower multiple victims, willingness to use multiple knives, no hesitation in killing children and adults. This is rare. Even among homicide offenders, killing multiple family members, especially young children, requires a level of emotional blunting or rage that is far outside typical offender profiles. There are 2 major interpretations. A. Deep, uncontrolled rage or frustration, possibly triggered suddenly, not necessarily against the Miyazawas personally, but released onto them, criminologically. This is the displaced rage attack model. B. A psyche with low empathy but high detachment, someone not compelled by passion, but simply unresponsive to emotional cues. In other words, a person with emotional numbness, rather than emotional fury. This distinction matters. The crime was extremely violent, but not expressive. There was no message, no staging, no symbolic behavior. It was functional violence, just killing whoever was present. That suggests this was not a revenge crime. This was not a moralistic killer. This was not someone trying to send a message. It was either opportunistic or internally driven. 3. Awareness of forensics, or lack thereof. Another contradiction. The killer acted with zero forensic caution, yet he entered the house quietly, strategically from the park. This raises two interpretations. A. He didn't understand forensic methods. A young person, early 2000s, maybe not exposed to crime shows or police procedure in real life. In 2000, DNA was well established in Japan but not commonly understood by the public. B. He understood forensics but believed he was untraceable. This is extremely important. The killer left behind his blood, his fingerprints, his clothing, physical items, footprints, hair and fibers. You would only act that way if you believed no one would ever take your DNA, common for minors. You planned to leave the country soon after. You lived in a system where authorities did not collect DNA, or you believed your mixed nationality put you outside matching databases. This is part of why the foreign resident, military-dependent theory persists. Someone aware they wouldn't be fingerprinted or DNA profiled in Japan. 4. The geographic behavior. The entry from the park side suggests familiarity with the terrain, knowledge of the blind spots, comfort moving in the dark. The killer didn't approach the front. He didn't break a door. He didn't smash a window randomly. He entered through the least exposed, least monitored point. That level of environmental awareness usually comes from someone who spends time outdoors, someone who loiters around the area, or someone who practiced or scouted. This ties heavily to delinquent youths, drifters around the skate park, or anyone who used the nearby facilities frequently. 5. Sociological fit. Given all the contradictory traits, young but physically capable, impulsive but able to overpower adults, careless but stealthy, violent but not expressive, left evidence but not identity, a coherent psychological picture emerges. A socially detached young male, possibly transient or unstable, acting in a mix of impulsivity and emotional numbness, with either no understanding of or no fear of forensic identification. It is the kind of offender who appears suddenly and disappears just as suddenly, and this is consistent with the fate of many unsolved family murders worldwide. The killer is often someone who is simply passing through. Chapter 8. Why the case remains unsolved. Despite enormous evidence, the Setagaya case remains unsolved for several major systemic and practical reasons, each one amplifying the others. 1. Japan's DNA and fingerprint limitations. Japan does have fingerprint and DNA databases, but they are not universal. They include individuals arrested for certain crimes, certain convicted offenders, passports, only fingerprints, since 2007. Some foreign residents, fingerprint only, but Japan does not have mass DNA collection, universal fingerprint databases for all citizens, mandatory DNA for foreigners, routine screening of school-aged individuals. If the killer never committed another crime, was never arrested, left Japan before being printed, died young, or was living in Japan unofficially, then his DNA and fingerprints would never appear in Japanese databases. This alone could explain the lack of a match. It is important to say that the limits exist for a reason, to protect the privacy and personal rights of ordinary citizens. Japan's strict rules on DNA and fingerprint collection are designed to prevent the government, or any outside institution, from holding sensitive genetic data on every resident. This ensures that people cannot be tracked, monitored, or profiled without cause, and that their most personal biological information remains protected. In a world where data breaches and misconducts are real risks, these safeguards act as a shield, protecting individuals from misuse of their identity, their DNA, and their private lives. The system prioritizes the safety and dignity of millions of law-abiding citizens, even if it sometimes leaves investigators with fewer tools in exceptional cases like Setagaya. 2. International data sharing is limited. Many people assume Interpol DNA solves everything. It doesn't. Japan's international data sharing agreements on DNA were extremely limited in the early 2000s and remain narrow today. If the killer was from a country that does not share DNA with Japan, a military-based family whose data is private, a family who never had DNA on record anywhere, or a country that uses incompatible databases, then even with DNA the match would never happen. This scenario is common with migrants, foreign students, military or contractor families, children born abroad, people who never commit crimes again. 3. The killer may have left Japan immediately. One of the most widely accepted practical explanations is this. The killer committed the crime and left Japan soon after, perhaps within days. Here's why this is plausible. December 30th is right before New Year's, a major travel season. Airports would be crowded, departures would blend into holiday traffic. Foreign residents commonly return home during this period. Once abroad, they would never undergo Japanese fingerprinting. If he flew out on December 30th or January 1st, the case may have been doomed from day one. 4. There are missing pieces of evidence, non-public information. Police rarely publish every detail of an active investigation. There are clues that suggest some evidence is withheld, forensic specifics not fully released, interview records never publicized, timelines sharpened but not disclosed, items collected but not shown to media. This secrecy is partly protective, to weed out false confessions, but it also means the public version of the case may lack the critical linking clue. Without the complete puzzle, we can't trace all connections. 5. The passage of time. Time damages every investigation. Witnesses moved, the neighborhood changed, potential suspects aged, changed appearance, or died. Memories eroded, paper trails disappeared, clothing models were discontinued, seasonal workers returned to home countries, skate park regulars dispersed. Every year makes the task harder. Even DNA matches become harder when relatives die or move abroad. 6. The killer is an outlier. The real reason the case is so difficult may be this: the killer does not fit any standard profile. He is neither fully local, nor fully foreign, nor organized, nor psychotic, nor purely opportunistic, nor purely revenge-driven. He is a hybrid, someone who falls between categories, making him effectively invisible in profiling systems. Cases like this become unsolved, not because of insufficient effort, but because the offender exists in a statistical blind spot. 7. The case may still be solvable, but only with a match. Japan police have everything they need except identity. If one of the following happens, a relative of the killer is tested. A foreign country shares a new DNA database. Someone confesses. A witness comes forward after decades, or forensic technology advances further. This case could solve itself instantly. Setagaya is the kind of case where one data point solves the entire story. Until then, it remains a perfect storm. A crime overflowing with physical clues, but perpetually missing the one clue that matters: the name of the man who walked into that house on December 30th, 2000. Chapter 9. Legacy and Closing. Every year, around the end of December, Tokyo police still stand outside the former Miyazawa residence. They ask for new information. They remind the public that the case is still open. They hope that someone, somewhere, remembers something. For the families, and for Japan, the Setagaya murders are more than just a mystery. They are a reminder that even in one of the safest cities in the world, in a house full of love and everyday life, something unimaginable can happen. And that sometimes, even when science and evidence are on your side, the truth can remain just out of reach. What do you think is the most likely explanation? A local youth from the park? A mixed nationality visitor who vanished overseas? Or a personal grudge we still don't fully understand? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you want more deep dive true crime cases with careful fact-checking, remember to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next episode. Thank you for watching. Stay safe and stay curious.